Houthi drones target civilians and oil ports in Yemen amid international community's silence. The United Nations says that Houthis are responsible for blocking passage of humanitarian aid. Houthis impose extra restrictions on civil servants in areas under their control. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rushan Fuad. The Houthi militia has forcibly displaced dozens of Yemeni families in the southern countryside of Al Hudaydah Governorate. A senior military official in the joint forces said the militia has displaced people in several villages in Al Fazza and Al Jabaliyah, stressing at the same time that the joint forces in Hais are committed to self-restraint. He warned, however, that the joint forces will not allow the Iranian-backed Houthi militia to penetrate the liberated areas. The representative of the European Union for Human Rights called on the Houthi militia to stop their drone attack on civilians. He added that the European Union is working with all parties in Yemen, but Iran is not helping to make peace and resolve the crisis. He expressed concern over violations of human rights in Yemen. In a new escalation to the situation in Yemen, the Houthi terrorist militia has targeted Qina oil port in Shabwa Governorate by drones. The new attack is not the first within the latest couple of days. It foretells a gloomy future for any possibility for peace with the terrorist Houthi militia.
According to local media, Yemeni soldiers shot down a Houthi drone that was attempting to target the port of Qina in Shabwa Governorate. The drone, fired by the Iranian-backed Houthi militia, attempted to strike an oil tanker as it unloaded its cargo at the port in Rodum district in Shabwa. The tanker was carrying thousands of tons of fuel, according to the report, which also stated that it safely discharged the diesel after the drone was shot down. The Yemeni military also shot down a Houthi drone in Ma'rib Governorate in a separate incident, according to the Yemen news agency Saba. The weaponized drone was fired in the direction of a camp for internally displaced people, but was shot down before it could make contact. The incident occurred after 4 internally displaced individuals, including 2 children, were murdered on Monday night after the Houthis allegedly used ballistic missiles and drones to attack a camp in the city of Ma'rib. A government body in charge of overseeing the IDP's camps reported that 23 other individuals were injured in the strike. After a UN brokered truce ended in early October, the Houthis started similar attacks in Yemen. On October 21st, a dramatic escalation occurred with an attack on the Al Dabba oil facility in Hadramaut. The Houthis stated that the strike on Al Dabba was carried out as a warning to deter a vessel from smuggling crude oil from the port. The Al Dabba bombing was heavily criticized, with the UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grunberg, calling it a deeply worrying military escalation. The Houthis and Yemen's government failed to prolong a UN brokered truce that expired on October 2nd due to disagreements over the payment of civil servant wages in Houthi-controlled regions.
The United Nations has accused the Houthi terrorist group of restricting humanitarian access in Yemen. The organization reported an increase in hindering food aid access during the current period in Houthi-controlled areas. More is in the following report.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, revealed that Houthis are responsible for the restrictions recorded on the movement of humanitarian workers and commodities within Yemen. It noted that the third quarter of 2022 witnessed a significant increase in incidents that impact the safety and security of aid workers compared with the second quarter. Over the same period, humanitarian partners reported 673 access incidents in 103 districts in 19 governorates across Yemen, affecting 5.8 million people, the United Nations office said, adding that almost 3/4 of the reported incidents related to bureaucratic constraints imposed by the authorities, including restrictions on the movement of humanitarian workers and commodities within Yemen. OCHA said these restrictions include interference in humanitarian operations, travel permit denials or delays, and cancellations of missions and field travel activities. Movement restrictions within Yemen were a predominant type of reported access incidents in the third quarter of 2022, with 307 incidents. About 94% of these incidents were recorded in Houthi-controlled areas, while 6% were in the government-controlled areas. The UN office explained that the increase is attributed to Houthis' imposed restrictions on national staff travel inside and outside the country and delay or denial of movement requests. OCHA stressed that the Houthis continue to require mahram, a close male relative, to accompany female Yemeni aid workers when traveling on field missions within and between governorates, as well as outside Yemen through Sana'a International Airport, which affected many program activities and led to cancellation of field visits and aid deliveries. During the reporting period, interference in implementing humanitarian activities by the authorities in Yemen was frequently reported. Some 66 interference incidents were reported in the third quarter, concerned delays of the approval of project sub-agreements. Other types of interference include suspension and disruption of humanitarian activities, interference in project design and implementation, and arbitrary demand for various information, data, documentation, reports, and tools were reported by partners, with 29 incidents in total. OCHA said violence against humanitarian personnel, assets and facilities continue to be a major concern for humanitarian partners in Yemen, as the third quarter witnessed a decrease in the frequency of such incidents, with 33 reported compared with 57 incidents in the second quarter of 2022. According to the office report, the decrease is mainly attributed to OCHA's engagement with authorities, armed groups, the temporary suspension of movements, and aid deliveries in several governorates, especially those passing by the coastal line road in Lahash governorate.
The United States and Oman renewed their call for a comprehensive extension of the truce in Yemen. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi stressed that a political solution will address the humanitarian crisis and achieve a more stable and prosperous future. This came in a joint statement after Blinken received al-Busaidi in Washington in celebration of the friendship agreement signed between the two countries. The terrorist Houthi militia announced that employees in their areas of control must have a special code of conduct that prevents them from posting on social media or talking about corruption. A number of experts and activists confirmed that the Houthi Code of Conduct is a document to enslave the employees. More is in the following report.
A few days ago, the terrorist Houthi group announced a code of behavior conduct in public service units. According to Houthi allegations, this code of conduct aims at refining behavior, cultivate values, and control work ethics. The Houthi militia justified the issuance of the behavioral code as a bride, claiming that it is viewed as sacred, stemming from morals, religion, and human values, in addition to strengthening mutual trust and respect between the employee and citizens, and consolidating the foundations of self-censorship that immunize employees from falling into corruption. All government employees under Houthis are obligated to the code after attending courses and meetings to introduce its content and the importance of adhering to it. According to the militia, all employees will sign a written pledge to abide by the code, and the pledge will be kept in his file of the job. As for new employees, the procedures for hiring or appointing to occupy a public position shall not be completed without signing a commitment to abide by the code. The militia stipulated that any violation of the code requires accountability, disciplinary and penal measures. Immediately upon the announcement of the Houthi new code, many Yemenis expressed their dismay at the decision, which some saw as an attempt to distract people and turn their attention from urgent national issues such as less salaries, release of prisoners, opening of roads, ports and airports, and establishing peace. They accused the terrorist group of exercising religious guardianship on state officials and employees. On the other hand, the Houthi issued behavioral code for the civil servants, places severe restrictions on the principles of transparency of public information and the expression of different opinions, which are guaranteed in accordance with the Yemeni constitutional and legal system and the international laws and norms.
The former Afghan Army Chief, Major General Haibatullah, said Tehran is recruiting former Afghan military personnel to strengthen the ranks of the Houthis in Yemen. He told the American radio when former Afghan military personnel go to immigration offices in Iran to extend their visas, they are asked to go to Yemen to fight in support of the Houthis. Coming next. On International Day of Freedom, free speech remains a far cry in Yemen.
نشن الدماء من الغل والغلط بعيد، كنا ندي بالدواب نعبي ماء وترجعنا. ننزل الساعة 5 رجعنا الساعة 9.
ما يجي إلا ظهر لأنه زحمة ما حد لي يخلي الجهل يغرق وإحنا تعبنا زيادة.
وكنت أحس صدري يوجعني وعز قدرك ركبي يوجعيني.
كنا بنستخدم حتى نغسل أولادنا يعني بأيام معدودة.
كنت أغيب على المدرسة لأن أنا كنت أروح الديمة.
حتى وإن كان يجي الأمطار تروح هدر لأنه ما في معي غزالة.
الوقت نشتري ب30,000 هي مع هستيلك ما يغلقش معها الشهر.
بس راح تطلب الله ولا أي حاجة، عاملة كل شغلك على الماء.
Welcome back. World Freedom Day was created to commemorate the fall of the Berlin Wall post-World War II. It marked the end of communism throughout Eastern and Central Europe, ensuring liberty to all. Yet, in Yemen, walls of Houthi subjection and justice are still erected. The following report gives more details.
People's freedom is under assault across the world. Tyrants continue to exist, whether by political, social, or violent forces. Falling on the 9th of November every year, World Freedom Day acknowledges the importance of continuing to strive for freedom for all. Aden Governorate commemorates this day in light of the limited freedoms enjoyed by Yemen's media and cultural workers. Freedom is the foundation of all creativity, and expression can only thrive in unrestricted contexts.
يوم الحرية العالمي.
On World Freedom Day, I would like to state that as people we are born free, and the loss of liberty is equal to the loss of life. However, I would like to reiterate the importance of holding ourselves accountable, as freedom is a double-edged sword. We need to seek the positive aspects of liberty that have uplifted societies. Many creatives struggle with the restriction of freedom, particularly in Yemen.
However, the reality of culture and media in Yemen greatly lacks that responsible freedom, which hinders creative output.
لا شك والجميع لاحظ أن هناك في تراجع.
The regression this country has encountered has been glaringly obvious, and it has persisted since 2012. People's ability to express themselves has grown limited.
On World Freedom Day, media and cultural sectors in Aden continue to get stifled, and freedom of expression remains a lofty value and a far-fetched dream.
Norway has pledged an additional contribution of more than $9 million to support small farmers in a number of developing countries. The United Nations Fund for Agricultural Development said in a statement the funding will be directed to some of the poorest small farmers in these countries for climate adaptation. The Yemeni government called on the World Food Programme to support its efforts to address the food security crisis. This came during a meeting between the Minister of Planning and the Regional Director of the World Food Programme. The minister warned that the food shortage may reach unprecedented levels in the country, calling for finding a permanent solution quickly.
My name's Calvin Rice and I'm Halo's Director of Programs. I'm currently visiting the city of Taiz in Yemen. And I'm here just behind one of the front lines which is separating southern forces from the Houthis. The front line is literally about 250 meters from me on that hill. I've come to this area just to see how people are being affected by the conflict that's happened here over the last many years. And very sadly, what we're seeing is a place which has been very heavily damaged, but we're fighting.
Economists warned the government from a new economic and financial crisis. They outlined the suspension of oil export, economic reforms, and the failure of the central bank in Aden to proactively prevent an impending downturn threatens to reverse the relative economic recovery. Mukalla port in Hadramaut Governorate received a tanker coming from Aden, carrying a batch of Saudi oil derivatives of about 8,000 metric tons of diesel. The oil derivatives grant contributes to supplying power plants in the liberated areas with fuel to enhance their operation.
Yemen has received a batch of diesel from Saudi Arabia at the port of Nashtun in Al-Mahrar Governorate. It marked the first delivery of the new Saudi oil derivative of 4,000 metric tons of diesel. It's expected to help operate more than 70 power generation plants across Yemen. The order was dispatched as part of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's continuous support to the Yemeni people and following the directives of King Salman bin Abdulaziz and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in response to a request by the Yemeni government to help it provide oil derivatives. The new oil derivatives are an extension of previous grants totaling $4.2 billion, the latest of which was a grant of $422 million that was completed over a year. It's said to have contributed to the country's economic stability, enhanced the budget of the Yemeni government, raised the purchasing power of Yemen citizens, and improved the security conditions. Furthermore, over 9.8 million residents benefited between May 2021 and April 2022, where the grants contributed to raising the public electricity corporation's revenues and saving 20% of the Yemeni government's budget. The latest grant is part of a larger support system of the Saudi Development and Reconstruction Program for Yemen, SDRPY, which has undertaken 224 development projects in 7 main sectors: education, health, water, energy, transport, agriculture and fishery, and infrastructure.
Dozens of students organized a protest to denounce the Houthi crimes against students and residents of the old airport neighborhood in Taiz. The protest comes after the Houthi militia committed many inhumane crimes against students, the latest of which was 2 separate targeting of the neighborhood last month. The Houthi attack resulted in the death of a citizen and his son, while 3 other children from the same neighborhood lost their legs.
We went out protesting with our sons just for one demand, which is stopping the daily bombing of our students, because we are supposed to be on a truce, and however the students and the citizens also are getting bombed daily. So we call on the United Nations to rescue us and stop this aggression against our students.
The city of Aden witnessed angry popular protests denouncing the manipulation of the distribution of household gas. People in Khor Maqsar neighborhood stood in long queues to obtain domestic gas cylinders in front of the distribution center. The suffering is compounded by insufficient portions for residential neighborhoods and the rise of the black market. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Houthi drones target civilians and oil ports in Yemen amid international community's silence. The United Nations says that Houthis are responsible for blocking passage of humanitarian aid. Houthis impose extra restrictions on civil servants in areas under their control. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fuad. See you soon.